I'm Zim, and you're listening to the Helpful Photographer Podcast in collaboration with New York City Photo Safari. To register for a safari, please visit newyorkcityphotosafari.com. Many moons ago, I read somewhere that you shouldn't leave your lens in the sun. The suggestion was left without a real explanation as to why. I thought perhaps it was an issue with heat, but it never seemed reasonable to me because glass doesn't melt until about 1400 degrees Celsius. Metal, on the other hand, melts at 1300 degrees Celsius. But what about the rubber? Most rubber melts at about 187 degrees Celsius. Trust me, if you're sitting anywhere that is 187 degrees Celsius, you have bigger issues to consider than the health of your camera. So why is leaving your lens or camera in the sun an issue? Other than perhaps the electronics, this advice didn't make sense to me. A couple of years ago, I finally read in a manual that you shouldn't leave your lens out in the sun without a lens cap on because of the potential of a fire. The manual suggested that at the right angle, the sunlight would magnify that light onto a flammable surface and blam, your house burns down. Although this seemed possible, it just didn't seem probable. That is, until this year. I'll start by saying nothing burned down and my house is still standing. So just relax. Okay, so what happened? I was about 5 days into my Mexico trip. I was shooting with my 70 to 200 millimeter lens, and I noticed that my photos were completely foggy. And the image I saw through the viewfinder of my DSLR also looked foggy. But there was no fog. It was the middle of the day, and it was sunny without a cloud in the sky. I thought perhaps my LCD was dirty, so I cleaned that, but then there was the viewfinder. But that was also clean. The front element of my lens was definitely clean. Even with that, I cleaned everything again, but it still didn't resolve my problem. At that point, I decided to dismount the lens, and wouldn't you know it, the back element looked like someone had blown smoke onto it, and there was a film that was evenly spread across the glass. I proceeded to clean the glass, and it resolved my problem. This was really weird, because I rarely, if ever, have a dirty back element, and even then, it's just a little bit of dust. And I had already been shooting with this lens for days. But on the other hand, I thought nothing more of it until I had to change that lens, and I had to put a real lens cap back on that lens. Lo and behold, there was a small hole that had melted in my lens cap, and it started from the inside. The fact of the matter is, I do not use front lens caps. As a result, my front element is always open. The only thing I can think of is that while traveling around, I left my bag open long enough for the sun to shine through the lens and melt the cap. As I did so, the smoke left a film on the rear element. So there it was, proof positive that it's not only possible, but there's an actual measured probability of this happening. So from now on, I'll pay a little more attention to the sun hitting my lens. I hope that was helpful. Until next time, keep on shooting.